Fibramine, proud sponsors of the really useful health show, the Joints series. Use it or lose it.
We've already talked about losing weight if you need to keep the strain off your joints. Nothing will help your knees and your hips as much as that. If you're lucky enough and you don't have to worry about your weight, then you can continue with the same amount of food. But you may have noticed that certain foods are aggravating your joint pain. And there is plenty of evidence to show that certain food groups do cause inflammation and aggravate rheumatoid arthritis. And if that's the case, you're probably going to need to do an exclusion diet and avoid things like milk and cheese and wheat and other grains and colorings and preservatives. This isn't so for osteoarthritis, unfortunately. There isn't so much evidence to show that it's diet related, although in some cases, things like wheat and dairy products can actually aggravate the swelling in the joints. A vegan diet can be helpful, and that involves not eating any animal products or any animal byproducts like milk, eggs or cheese. But if you're going to follow a vegan diet, you must make sure that you've got adequate nutrients, particularly vitamin B12 and iron. Vitamin D is important too, and so are essential fatty acids. So you'll find the essential fatty acids in the oily fish, things like salmon, herring, mackerel, pilchards and sardines. Try and include plenty of vegetarian protein into your diet as well. Things like soya products, tofu, soya milk and yogurt, nuts and seeds, bean, peas and lentils. But if you're not used to consuming vegetarian protein, a word of warning, introduce them one at a time, because otherwise you can overload your digestive system and end up with lots of wind and embarrassing bloating. If you're going to do the diet route, then it's important to avoid wheat, oats, barley and rye. And that might sound a bit scary, but in fact at the supermarkets are absolutely stuffed full of alternatives. So it's not too difficult. It's just a question of going shopping, having a look out for the different breads and pastas and pizza bases and muffins and so on, and trying them until you find the ones you like. And it's not a life sentence, it's just a short-term thing. Alcohol should be kept to a minimum too in the first month because it impedes the absorption of most nutrients. It's important to keep to a low salt diet for now and to avoid stimulants like tea, coffee, cola and chocolate. We shouldn't leave any stone unturned in the first month. I can remember one patient who was absolutely crippled with arthritis. She couldn't use her hands, and she discovered that her symptoms were related to her tea drinking. When she came off tea, the symptoms disappeared altogether, and she only noticed that they returned if she had a cup of tea by mistake. So it's best to track down and see what's affecting your joints. You need to follow the diet for at least a month, and by that time you should see a change. And if you do, then you'll know which food groups are aggravating your symptoms. Once you've isolated the foods that are triggering your joint problems, make a list of them, and then you can introduce them after the first month, one at a time, perhaps one a week, so you can see if you get a reaction, and keep some careful notes. So now let's have a look at a sample menu for the day. So we've talked about what you can't have, and now this is what you can have. This is the Eat Yourself Flexible menu. So it's a typical menu for the day. And I've tried to choose things that are rich in essential fatty acids and very wholesome with lots of nutrients to help your joints. So to start with, I've chosen nut butter to have on toast, though there are lots of different menus you can have. And I've also chosen a variety of seeds to have with fruit salad and some soya milk, and also some little golden linseeds, which are particularly rich in essential fatty acids. So what you tend to do is just sprinkle those over, and they're really nice and crunchy. Now for lunch, I've got some sardines and salad, and you can have some rice cakes with that or some corn chips, and some sushi. So you've got a choice. Again, you've got the oily fish in the salmon and some oily fish with the salmon on the sushi. For the evening meal, I've chosen some fish and vegetables, or some soya and vegetarian patties and some vegetables. And then for dessert, you've got some mixed berries with a soya dessert, lots of nuts and seed things, seed bars and so on for snacks, as well as fresh fruit. So there's a lot to eat, plenty of choice, and it's all fresh and very wholesome and very good for you. In the next show, I'm going to be teaching you some secrets to help relieve your joint pain. So do join me.
Lubramine, proud sponsors of the really useful health show, The Joint Series. Use it or lose it.